Be the Buddha and breathe and experience your breath, because the mind has become extremely busy, especially with digital technology. So busy that one has even forgotten that they have this breath. If they can put someone above themselves, then they give away their own power. If they were to place their attention back on themselves and give themselves as much power as they give me, or they give another ascended master, or an angel, or so forth, then what would happen is they would realize that they now need to take action on this power that they experience themselves to be. And what people don't realize is that that pause is the return to the Almighty. Imagine this pause right now. And in this pause, you meet with the Almighty.
I'd like to welcome back to the show returning champion Genevieve Taeger. How you doing, Genevieve?
Good, thank you. Nice to be here again.
Thank you so much for coming to the show, flying all the way down here from the Great White North.
Yes. It's beautiful here.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. I mean, it's amazing. It's truly amazing.
I appreciate it. It's a dream come true having this studio, and having people like you coming in is also a dream come true. So hopefully we'll be more and more of these kind of conversations in person, because the energy is a little bit different here than it is on Zoom. Zoom is great, but this is a little bit different. Would you agree?
Plus all that digital exposure, honestly, is getting to me. Yeah. So it's nice to finally be in person with someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree 100%. So first question I had for you is that there's so many people right now going through spiritual changes in the world.
Yeah.
And it's scary because the shift is happening, right?
Yeah.
And why are you laughing?
It's true. It's true.
It's true. No, it's true, because there's a lot of people going through the spiritual awakenings, and I was doing an article the other day about spiritual awakenings, and it was just like looking off, checking off everything that was coming on the list. I'm like, yeah, well, that's happening to me. That's happening to me.
Yeah.
And I have a very unique perspective because I get to talk to people about this stuff all the time. So it wasn't scary. I had my own personal guide, living. I always have to preface that, living guide who was kind of guiding me through a lot of this stuff. And so it wasn't ever scary for me, but there are people out there who are going through these changes and they don't understand it as much. What advice would you have for people who are going through this?
Okay, so this is interesting. And it goes actually back to 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So 2008, it kind of like the big coming for me happened.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening for people now. And what I was told back then was that I was being prepared for the time when humanity would be coming in droves. Is that the right saying?
Mm-hmm.
They'd be coming in droves, and people will be thinking, who am I? What's happening? It's like you wake up and suddenly you realize, oh, this is an illusion. There's more to us.
Mm-hmm.
And fast forward to, I would say about 3 years ago, Mary Magdalene kind of ushered in this requirement that now you need to write your book. You need to do those things. You need to, because be prepared, you need to have this done by 2022. You need to get it out. People will wake up, blah, blah, blah. And it's kind of funny because I was taking it seriously, but a part of me also thought, maybe it's just, how people have a tendency to say, oh yeah, we're gonna be all enlightened beings, and you hear this over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But
Age of Aquarius.
Yeah, exactly. But I could feel it, that it was serious, and yet so a part of me was seriously taking it seriously, but another part still doubted. So I think that doubt is what people can also experience through this. They'll become sensitive. They'll be wondering what's going on with them. And they'll think, why am I feeling tired? Why am I feeling nausea? Why am I feeling like people are feeling a lot of the ascension, to kind of bring the words down to simplicity instead of saying ascension symptoms. People are feeling the solar flares, they're feeling the Schumann resonance, and they're feeling brain fog and all these things that they're thinking that there's something wrong with them. And how do they handle this energy? And so the key thing is to answer that question that you're saying, what do people do? First, if they can have an understanding of that, what's actually going on, then maybe they can think about what foods do they need, what self-nurture do they need time to sleep, do they need to develop themselves and understand spirituality, understand the process, be taught the basics. So it's kind of like your question is an answer that would take forever to answer.
Right.
So I'm kind of basically, in summary, what do you say? You help them to feel normal.
I'll be honest with you, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened to me over the last couple years. And it seems like that physically, that things are just changing and I'm like, am I getting old? I'm like, but I'm not that old. These kind of things. And, I've been told, I've been like, no, there's a lot of energy coming and there's a lot of shifting happening and the solar flares and there's things hitting the planet that are affecting a lot of people. A lot of people are going kind of nuts over it. As you can tell, the world is kind of a little bit out of control in many ways. And it's difficult because, I was told that you're going to have to kind of grin and bear it for a couple of years until this kind of passes. But this is going to be this kind of, barrage of stuff coming towards us all. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it is. What I was shown, well, actually what I also read was that the solar flares, for instance, they're going to be increasing. And for the next 2 years, it's going to be insane as to how much is going to happen. But what I'm seeing in terms of frequency, what's coming to me directly, is that this will continue to exponentially rise. It's not going to stop.
Right.
It's not going to be just a couple years. And that we need to learn a new way of using our bodies in this new world. And the new ones that are being born, they're already adjusted to that. But the old folks, not pointing any fingers.
You literally pointed a finger at me. No. You were like, old folks. The older generation, the veterans, if you will.
Yes.
The veterans, if you will.
Yes, the wise ones.
The wise ones, exactly. No, there's no question about it. My kids and their generation, they're coming in completely programmed. I always say programmed at the factory, completely different than we were. They get things so much quicker.
Yeah.
They understand concepts. They question things that you and I would have just gone along with because that's just the way it was. Even though we might have questioned it later in life, they're questioning it at the moment that they're presented with the idea. And they're like, no, that doesn't make any sense to me. No, I'm not going to work for 40 years in a factory somewhere and retire. That doesn't make it. That's old ideas, those old mindsets. Yeah. No, it's very, very true. We're kind of like that bridge generation. We have one foot in the old and we also have one foot in the new. And it's a weird place to be, our generation of souls that are on this earth, because we understand very clearly where we all were. Yeah. We're not our parents or our grandparents, but we're not our kids.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in that weird place of being that bridge between the two. And it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. Like being a human, some people think, oh, wow, you can channel 69 beings, and how do you do it? And, well, your life must be so amazing. You're always connected and all that kind of stuff. And I'm thinking, sometimes life is challenging because...
Even for you, Genevieve?
Yes.
You're connected to higher knowledge. You should walk through life on rose petals.
I would say in some cases it's harder for me because I'm experiencing a very high vibration
Yeah.
coming through me, whereas other people who are just opening up, they're not in this energy all the time. But I'm in the energy all the time, and so the more I'm in it, the more higher vibration my body is, and so I need to always adjust to this. It's kind of like you don't feel gravity in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
You feel much lighter in your being, yet your physical body, your organs and everything is saying, hey, hang on here. You're not grounded. You're not... And so then I might feel some of the ascension symptoms, and yet I got to continue on being the leader and helping people. So mindset is important through that process, like essential.
Well, I mean, a lot of people, like, they must ask, like, oh, you're connected to source all the time. And, you know, if you have a question, you have this reservoir of information. You could just plug in and go, I'm having a problem today. What should I do? Guide me. But there are other elements that the stress and the pressure of what you must deal with on a daily basis is probably immense. Also, very much like Neo in the Matrix, you know the truth.
Yeah.
And understanding where we are coming, where we're from, and where we all are essentially, and the truth about where we are, this simulation, this game, if you will, that we're all in. To balance that knowledge is very difficult. It's much easier to be in the Matrix, as opposed to understand that the Matrix is not real and that there's also the outside. That knowledge alone, and not only knowledge of it, but actual experience of it, must be a difficult way to kind of navigate in this life. Would you agree?
You know, the most difficult thing, honestly, is to see others living their stories that aren't true. It's the most difficult because you watch them, you watch what they talk about.
Oh, I know.
And then I feel them. I feel their spirit. I had people who, if I was on a call with them and they're wondering whether or not they should work with me, I literally would hear their spirit screaming out, saying, you've got to make sure that she joins. You got to make sure that he joins. They need this. And one time even someone couldn't, was really having to crunch their numbers.
Sure. And
so she decided no. And then I heard her partner on the other side saying, you need to get her to do this. And I thought, okay, like I'm totally into helping people, but I don't want to coerce them. Right. But I could feel this.
That must be immense weight.
It is. There is an immense weight.
Yeah.
Actually, one time I still think about it to this day, this one person who was an artist was just profound in what she brought through. And she decided she couldn't, at this point, work with me because she was working. And I grieved for 2 weeks. Wow. Because I felt her spirit wanting this so strongly. So this is, it's difficult because I know that our spirit wants us to live its creations here. It doesn't want us to play small and to be a certain way and to follow like you say, working in the industrial world and all that. It doesn't want that from us. It wants us to be invigorated, to feel empowered, to live life to the ultimate. And I'm not saying that you have to be some leader on stage or whatever, but I'm saying that you need to feel that power. When Athena comes in, she's all powerful. We need to be able to feel that power because even if some people are shy, we still have that vital life force energy in us that is full of power. And that's the hard part, is that a lot of people are not in that phase yet of their life where they're feeling like they can get past those thoughts of theirs. And they believe that now's not the right time. And let's wait 5 years from now. Yeah. Or let's wait for the Holy Spirit, or let's wait for the angel or let's wait for the psychic to tell me that now's the right time. But the truth is, even when they go see the psychic, they still don't do what they're supposed to do.
No.
And I don't mean supposed to. I mean their spirit is really
begging,
pulling them to do.
right? I mean, it's not easy because they're just listening to their story.
Yeah.
They're playing that programming back and back and back. We all have a story that we tell ourselves
Yeah.
to be able to function in this world.
Yeah.
Without that story, it's very difficult to walk this earth.
Yeah. I did it.
Huh?
I did it.
Yeah. I mean,
I lived that story I had a breakdown. That's what caused me we talked about it last time.
that story is there to protect us.
Yeah.
It's there to comfort us. And the second that story is challenged is where wars begin.
Yeah.
Where you fight back. You're scared of that because if I have been believing this story for 40 years and then all of a sudden I have new information that says, well, wait a minute, my story wasn't right.
Yeah.
Well, it shakes everybody to the core. That's why I never try to change anybody's belief system or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped doing stuff like that years ago because it doesn't make any sense. If you're not ready to move, nothing I say is going to do it.
Yeah.
If they're curious, I'll guide them. I'll go, hey, read this book, watch this episode or something along those lines. But
do you know what the key thing here is? Yeah. What is going to get them to say, I've had enough, I'm done, I'm ready to change?
Well, because this is the Tony Robbins thing, and I love Tony so much, that when you're in the middle, it's not too bad, but it's not too good.
Yeah.
It's the most dangerous place to be.
Yeah.
Because you need to fall way down below the point that I'm like, I can't take this anymore.
Yeah.
That's in our relationships, that's in a job, that's in your belief system, whatever. When you get to that place is when you go, I can't, and then you move. Yeah. But you won't move when you're here. And you're definitely very difficult to move when you're up here, or everything is going exactly the way your story is telling you. That's really difficult to change. But you've got to get to a place that's so low for you to actually move. And I've done that many times. You have the heart attack. Yeah. And I'm like, I should probably stop eating bacon 24/7. Yeah. That's probably not a good idea.
But you know what? Times have changed now. Yeah. And what people don't see yet, but you and I are sensing it, and I hear it, is that and people don't understand this concept. What does it mean, higher frequency? What does it mean that Gaia, our Earth, is shifting in frequency? And these are facts, that the solar flares, that the electromagnetic frequency of the Earth, they're rising, and we have spikes in this. And what happens is we resonate to the Earth's frequency. So if the Earth is rising in frequency, we have no choice but to have our cells vibrate faster. They just vibrate in alignment with the Earth. And
well, I was going to say something, and I don't mean to interrupt you, because it just came into my head that, a lot of times people, I've recently started to get into astrology, but not in the woo-woo astrology, like actual historical, scientific points of view on astrology. And, the moon has an effect on the Earth, period. And that's scientific fact. Yeah. There's things called the tides.
Yes.
They come in, they go out because of the moon's pull.
Yeah.
The concept of lunatic comes from the moon, lunar, meaning that we're made of, 90% water. When there's a full moon out, you talk to any police station anywhere in the world, they're like, oh, it's full moon out tonight. Yeah. Think people are going to start acting a little nutty because there's a pull on us. So I'm using that as an example to illustrate what you're saying. If the magnetic energy of the frequency of the planet is moving upward, we're going to move upward, and some of us are going to not deal with it very well. Most of us are not, because it's a different thing. Yeah. I mean, you work, if you're, it's a similar thing to, like, I'm walking on land, and the second you walk into the water is a different frequency. So you move slower. You can't move as fast. You can't do things. But if you live in the ocean long enough, or you dive long enough, you're able to move a lot better. You're more comfortable in it. But there's an adjustment period. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And when our cells vibrate faster, what people don't understand is that we are energetic beings. Our souls are basically housed in our body.
Right.
And now what happens is that because our cells vibrate faster, this means that our body is vibrating faster, so our clairsenses get heightened.
Mm-hmm.
And people start to maybe see things, or they start to feel things, or people are saying, my ears are ringing. Why are my ears ringing? What can I do about it?
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing, the first thing typically that opens up is the knowing, which is called claircognizance. And this knowing is something where, with religions, we've talked about, is that you just know that something isn't right anymore. And hopefully that knowing will entice a change within people without having to get sick or have a breakdown, or, they've worked 50 years of their life and finally they're ready for change. And even though they've wanted it since they're 30, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
This is the hope that I have, is that I feel that people are now waking up and they're not waiting for the breakdown or the sickness or anything like that to occur.
Well, let's dive into the knowing a little bit, because that's a very interesting idea. I've spoken to so many near-death experiencers who state that when they're on the other side, there's a knowing. There's no communication, but they just understand everything about the moment, everything about what's happening at such a deep level that it transcends knowledge. It transcends communication. I've had a couple of experiences like that in my own, either meditations or in dreams, even in dreams.
Mm-hmm.
Most people dream. Everyone dreams. So in dreams, sometimes you just know what's happening without anyone telling you. That's what's starting to happen to us now, where you just know when you meet somebody, or you know this or you know that, but no one's communicated it to you. It's a very odd thing for our programming,
Yes.
our hardware to deal with. Would you agree?
Yeah, because we're so used to using what we think is our mind in the brain, which is actually extremely limited.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, Lord Lonto, he's not a lord, but that's the name he goes by, right?
Sure.
The Lord Lonto mentions about that it's a limited mind, this brain here.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the consciousness. This is not the intelligence that you can tap into. And so in your state of knowing, you can receive extreme wisdom and, like a patented ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Einstein didn't get his knowledge from using this little brain.
No, he tapped into some other things. He said it himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he even said himself, there's like, towards the end of his life, he's just understood that there is a creative force, intelligent force behind everything, because it's just, he dug so deep that he's like, there's no way that this is by chance.
It reminds me of this, the gifted. Genevieve, you're just so gifted. No, I can't be like you because, you're gifted. And inside of me, I think, no, this is not a correct statement to say. I understand that people are gifted in certain things. They don't need to channel 69 beings, but everyone is wired to be able to communicate with their higher self. Everyone. We are energetic beings.
When you said the word gifted, I automatically went to like Michael Jordan. Okay, and he's physically gifted. You and I can technically play the game of basketball. Technically. If we can take a ball, we could attempt to shoot it, and then maybe it'll pop in or not. But we're not physically gifted in that way as Michael Jordan was, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, or Shaquille O'Neal, these people who are literally built in the factory to do this.
Yes.
What they say to you, being gifted, I interpret that as like, oh, you were being gifted with these special abilities that no one else would have except for you, or only these select few, which is a lie. Being physically gifted is a completely different conversation. I will never look like Arnold Schwarzenegger did when he was in his 20s. No matter how hard I work out, I don't have the genetics to do that. I don't have his height. I don't have his strength. He was built to be that person. But spiritual gifts are different. Abilities that we're talking about, every human being has the ability to, because it transcends physical. It transcends mental.
Yeah.
It is at a whole other level. And that's what Jesus was talking about. That's what Buddha was talking about. That's what all great avatars who've walked the earth have been saying since the beginning of this whole thing, is everything that we can do, you can do, and more.
Yeah.
And when they walk the earth, when they come here to walk the earth, they're here to be an example of what can be. You know, like we have behind us a bunch of ascended masters. I love Lahira Mahashai because he's one of the few saints who had a family. I always joke, like, it's really easy to find enlightenment when you don't got kids. I'm like, you know, if you ain't got kids, you could just sit around and just think about deep thoughts all day and find enlightenment.
Yeah.
He actually had children. He was an accountant. And Babaji, he said, why are you picking me? I'm not a mystic or anything. And Babaji, who was his guru, said, no, you need to be an example for others to see that they can do it too.
Yeah.
Yogananda, when he walked essentially in our lifetime almost. I think he died in the 50s or 60s. I think in the 60s he died. That's only a decade or so before I was born.
Yeah.
You know, so it wasn't that far away, and he walked as an example of what is capable by humanity, self-realization, to be able to understand who you truly are. And Jesus was talking about this 2,000 years ago. Would you agree?
I would totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah. I mean, we have in terms. Yes. Okay. Let's just say maybe they won't channel the beings that I'm channeling.
Correct.
Maybe they're not going to channel at all. However, channeling is a word, but we all channel.
Correct.
And you don't have to channel the way I channel.
Right.
And the key thing I say to people is that the best thing you can do out of everything is communicate with your higher self, which everyone can do.
Right.
They don't know how they do it, and they just need to learn how to do it.
Well, it's that gut feeling, as they say.
Yes.
Instinct.
Yes, the gut feeling. I mean, there is one thing that you've probably heard of, is to decipher between gut and the intuition. Because the gut sometimes is fear-based, where like safety. I need to go into safety. You know, there's a lion coming in the room and you're going to feel the gut. So some people have that gut. If they have their senses in their gut, then they need to be able to discern between the two and just ask that question. Is this, if the gut feeling feels expansive, light, expansive, a good thing, you may feel a bit like nervous, but it's a good nervous. Then you know that that's your higher self telling you, go do it. If you have this gut like, I've got to do it because you feel this protection inside of yourself.
Right.
Now's not the time. No, now is not the time.
Right.
That's the reptilian brain trying to protect yourself.
Well, how about dreams? Are dreams ways that the higher self is talking to you, or your guides or anything like that?
So the two things are happening. I'm not a dream expert, but on the subconscious level, many dreams happen where you're actually literally trying to deal with stuff that you dealt with in the day, things that you're worried about, that kind of stuff. And then there are dreams where your higher self can come to you. I've had Mother Mary and Isis, Kuan Yin come to me in my dreams and give me teachings. Not all the time. When I say that, people think, oh, wow, like, no, actually the majority of my dreams are about my day, about all the things I'm thinking about. But depending on the person, and I also had that out-of-body experience where I became one with the light and all that kind of stuff, and that was during a dream. So, yeah, your higher self can come to you, but, you know, in what form depends on everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, in my dreams, I feel like a lot of times I'm getting messages, and I've had them analyzed afterwards. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what that was. Like the warnings or.
I just envisioned like your dreams would be like Spider-Man, and
So-
you're going off and
So you know what? It's funny. I get, from my understanding, that your higher self, spirit guides, ascended masters, whoever, they use things that make you remember. For me, it's celebrity, or like an actor would come in and do something. I'm like, oh, why is Bruce Willis here? But I'll remember that, as opposed to some other nameless guy. Because when you wake up, it's hard to remember things.
Mm-hmm.
But if a director shows, if Steven Spielberg shows up in my dream,
You'll
I'm
remember.
like, oh, what does Steven want? They're like, it has nothing to do with Steven Spielberg at all, or even filmmaking, but it's him doing it, so it makes you remember. So they do that. So sometimes I've never had a Spider-Man dream. That would be actually pretty cool. I've never had I've had a few superhero dreams, I think. But anyway, that's besides the point. But being in those dream states is as close to that a lot of people will be to the other side while they're here, because there's no time, there's no space. You're instantly everywhere. And again, the more I talk to near-death experiencers, the more I understand that seems to be what the other side is like.
Yeah, there is no time, there's no space. Everything's in the now. I experienced it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When did you experience it?
When I was 18.
Tell me about it.
That's just a few years ago.
Obviously. Me too.
So it was actually like a guru, could have been one of those that said, now is the time, come with me. And he took me into a room, kind of the size, it was maybe half the size of this room. Took me into a room. Oh, no one can see the room in here. It doesn't mean much to them. But kind of like a condo size. And we sat down in meditation, and I immediately went into the light. And when I went into the light, I became the light. I became the vibration. It was this yellowish white light, like they talk about for near-death experiences. You were love, immense love. Love that it doesn't exist here.
Right.
I would say the love for your kids is not even the same.
Right.
And I don't have kids, but I can imagine what that would be like. And so the love is so immense. I remember the tears they just come down because you are there's a source of energy. So even though I became one in the light, there's a source that was still, you could feel the rays coming, kind of like when you look in the sun, you can still feel the rays, but you are the sun too. Because it's not like you're a human being. You are actually this energy, this light being, and you have a consciousness. You have an intelligence. And you know as soon as you think of something, you get the answer immediately. So you're a creator in that moment, that you can create whatever it is that you want. You want to know something? Here's the answer. So this is the thing that we can do here. And if people can understand that, that's the teaching, is that we can apply that here through consciousness, through intention.
Now, we were talking off air a little bit ago that you do channel 69 beings. And you were asking last night, like, so who's showing up to the interview today? And they told you?
They said, we're not going to tell you. It's going to be a surprise.
They're funky that way, aren't they?
Yes.
Do you, when you're channeling these beings, do you ever because I've had other channels tell me this, so you'll go into a group session, you're going to be teaching or something, you're like, oh my God, I hope they show up. Oh my God, if they don't show up, what am I going to say? Kind of thing. Did you ever have that feeling? My God.
I've had that feeling, I think, a long time ago, but now I don't have that feeling.
Yeah. Now you're just like, they'll show up. They'll be fine. I came all this way. I'm sure they'll show up.
What's interesting, though, is I don't even, people think, oh, you must prepare and all this kind of stuff. Even for my, when I do things for my group, or I'm running a retreat. Literally, I'm running a retreat, and they think, oh, you must prepare. No, because it's going to come through me.
That's terrifying.
So the key thing here.
Like, I imagine you have all these people who spent money. They've flown in from around the world, and they're coming there to talk to you. And then all of a sudden you get there. Hello, everyone. Got nothing. I got nothing today. Sorry. Let's try again tomorrow. Like, it's terrifying. I would be terrified.
You get used to it. And then
I'm sure.
and you realize that you're always tapped into intelligence. Because you don't even need an ascended master to come to you to tap into the intelligence. As soon as you learn, this is another key thing I want to mention actually. As soon as you learn how to walk the walk, these are the words I'm hearing, how to walk the walk, how to hear the guidance. And when I say hear, I don't mean you have to hear it from your ears, because many people think that. You can just know. You can tap into, it's almost like you place your awareness up here. Don't think in the brain. Don't place your awareness in your brain part. Place your awareness up here. It's located about 1 foot, 30 centimeters above the head. When you place your awareness there in everything you're doing, in conversations that you're having, like when I'm having a conversation with you outside of the room, I'm placing my awareness there with the intention that if I get any intelligence coming my way, I'm going to share it with you. And so that's how I live my life all the time. I'm always this walking meditation person where I'm tapped into that. And this is what I want for everyone, because everyone can do that.
And everyone can do that. But again, it's those stories that we tell each other.
Exactly.
And tell ourselves more than anything else is the scariest part. All right. So who would like to come first?
Oh, did you want someone to come?
Sure. Let's have some fun. I have a list of questions here.
Okay.
So I'd love to see and tell everybody, we already mentioned that you're a channel. How do you channel, so you can explain to everybody what your process is, because everyone's different?
They started to come to me when I was 16. Mother Mary came to me, and it just gradually kept happening. And the first group tended to be the ascended masters, one after another, and then suddenly some archangels. And then in the past 5 years, suddenly goddesses and gods. And who knows what. And also some star beings lately.
So when you say goddesses and gods, I want to be clear about something there, because when I think of goddesses and gods, I think of Greek mythology. I think of Zeus and these kind of people. When you say gods or goddesses, who are gods or gods? Because there's only one source. What are they? Because I get angels, I get ascended masters, I get spirit guides, I get all that. But gods or goddesses, I'm not sure. Yeah,
exactly. And sometimes I think, can we have a better word here? Because it's just a weird word to me as well. And so this is what I was told. And I'm still trying to come up with a word for them, is that just like we have bodies, and we came here to live an experience through the body. What we don't realize is that there are also beings who live their experience through their etheric bodies, who aren't physical in form. And so some of those never came to Earth, as an example. So there are some gods or goddesses who are etheric beings who have a function. They serve a function where they have a specialty. This is the way I like to say it. And their specialty is the way they show me this every single time is when you hire a plumber.
A spiritual plumber.
You're gonna hire a plumber. You're not gonna hire a roofer
to fix your toilet.
Right. You're gonna hire a plumber. So the same thing is when you want to learn something about, I don't know, something. You want to learn something about something.
About science, let's say.
About
quantum
science.
Physics, yeah.
Right. Then a particular being will come through. It could be an ascended master who's lived here before, or it could be a being who's never lived here before. And that being we identify as either a god or goddess. They're always connected to the divine, just like we are. When we leave, we're no longer in our body. What are we then called?
Mm-hmm.
You know, well, maybe we'll
Bob.
be called
Bob.
Yeah.
I like to be called Bob.
So how do I do it? I first started doing it through automatic writing years back. And then it slowly developed into channeling and conscious channeling.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's getting to the point where I can go into very deep state, where it's kind of half in, half out, half conscious, half...
Right.
So that's what I'll do today.
All right. But you'll be here. So you're still
I'm here.
And
I'm here.
You can jump in pretty good. Your voice doesn't change.
My voice changes.
It changes a little bit?
Yeah, it changes definitely depending on who's coming through.
And your energy is different, obviously. The mannerisms are a little bit different. But but you're still there.
I'm still here.
And you kind of jump in and out.
I can jump in and out.
Yeah. As opposed to being like in a full trance that you're not going to go out until you're out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I can go so deep that sometimes I don't want to be coming in and out.
Gotcha. And then whoever comes in, comes in.
Yeah, but if you want me to come in and out, I can. No problem. No problem.
I'll call you back. Don't worry. I'll call you back. So yeah, I'm actually, I have a list of things. And by the way, everyone listening to my voice, I'm getting over a cold. That's why I'm talking like this. So bear with me. I have a list of questions I would love to ask whoever comes through, but I'm kind of going to go with it. Whoever comes through and whatever needs to be said, I'm going to put my awareness up here as well to see what comes through on my end. So
all right,
let me know who's coming in.
Okay. So I usually put my hand on my heart, just because then I give myself Reiki. Okay, so it's interesting because it's a new being that's coming through.
Oh, so there's 70. Is this
I guess so.
70?
Yeah, that's 70.
You're welcome.
So the thing is, I guess I'm supposed to do this to show people what it's like.
Okay.
So basically, I don't know who it is yet.
Okay.
And sometimes it won't be shown to me until a little later. But right now what I'm being shown is a very light yellow energy. It's feminine. It's very soft and feminine. Okay. And it feels almost like an elemental type being, like a nature type being. So, okay. So I'll just say, hello, Alex. That means she's here.
Okay.
And you can feel free to ask.
Yes, who are you? Is the first question.
She won't tell me right away. That's why I'm laughing. Hello, Alex.
Hello, how are you?
I'm wondrous.
Can I ask who you are?
I'm an elemental, as Genevieve has proclaimed, and I come from the Ireland area.
Interesting. I just had someone that were talking to me about the Druids, and we were talking about elementals and their traditions. So this is fascinating. So my question to you is, since you're an elemental, what do you see? What do you see for humanity's relationship with Gaia, with the Earth, moving forward? Because if we continue to go down the path that we're on, we're going down a self-destructive path. So I'd love to hear your thoughts.
May I first begin with the understanding that we are here to bring wonderful things onto this earth, that we are here to bring forth love and kindness, exploration within our kingdom here, that you have come down to a kingdom, not just a planet Earth, that this is a kingdom where you can create all wondrous things in this world, that you can experience joy and laughter and have fun and play in the kingdom of sand, play in the joy, the sandbox of life. This is why we are here. And when you ask, what is happening to Earth? Well, beloved great Gaia Spirit, she is here to show that she has a temper as well, and a sweet temper. She says, don't F with me, so to say, in a polite way. And she will do whatever she needs to do to calm those humans that are not being so friendly to her. And she's not afraid because she knows that she knows the way, because she is aligned with the knowing. She is almighty, and she can know that when you align with intelligence, you can create worlds. And so she is a creator as well. People do not understand that Earth is a great creator, that she has desires too, that she has a spirit also that wants to live in a certain way on Earth. And so this is her goal, to live on Earth in a certain way and to create her own creations. And she would like to create the Garden of Eden, the new temple here, for those new people coming onto the earth, so that when they come, they experience great joy. They can have fun in their days. And so what will happen on this earth will be dependent upon what humanity does to the world and for the world. And humanity is awakening right now. And this is happening at an expedient nature. And that is due to great Gaia spirit raising the frequency, and also the solar flares coming onto the earth and the space weather that occurs. And so together they're in cahoots to make sure that humanity rise itself to stronger heights, so that they can all of a sudden be standing in the consciousness of clear knowing, and in that clear knowing they can decide better things for this world.
Do you see, how do you see humanity connecting with Gaia, with the earth more in the future? Are we going down a path that we can't come out of?
Absolutely not. Humanity is going to be awakening. They're going to be awakening to ideas of what they can be doing for Earth. They'll be awakening on how they can use energy in better ways, and how they can use the soil in better ways, how they can nurture the soil, how they can live better days on Earth. All those wonderful things that they can do is entirely possible in our future, because like we talked about in terms of the cellular upgrade that is happening in people's beings, when this upgrade happens, then there's no choice but to awaken to the greatest consciousness that exists when you connect to the divine mind.
You were mentioned that Gaia has its own spirit, its own soul, has its own ability to create. Do other planets in our solar system have similar energies?
Every solar system has their own energy. I'm feeling the presence of Mars, like right away spoke through. It's a very different energy. So that's where I'm.
Okay.
Every planetary system has a spirit. Everything that exists in the physical realm has a spirit. We're all connected. We cannot live without this essence coming through us. We have a great spirit, and we have a soul that lives in our bodies, that lives in the bodies of physicality. The great spirit is the source that your soul has. And of course, the spirit itself has a source, which is the divine.
Thank you for coming so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
If you're enjoying this conversation, I invite you to go deeper down the rabbit hole with me on Next Level Soul TV. It's packed with exclusive content like live special guest Q&As, daily podcasts, commercial-free access to the entire Next Level Soul catalog, early access to episodes before they air, and special meditations you won't find anywhere else. We will be adding new exclusive content every month, plus you can connect with me during my monthly live streams. Just go to nextlevelsoul.com/subscribe and join our soulful community today. I'll see you on the inside.
Well, it is Lord Lanto.
Fantastic.
So Lord Lanto is actually an ascended master.
Okay.
An Asian guy that lived a long time ago before Christ.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think Confucius was someone he was aligned with.
Okay.
I salute you today, Alex, for being here, for bringing forth a global shift on this planet, for helping to awaken humanity in ways you do not even know and not aware of, although you are aware. But I'm trying to say to you that you have no idea what you are doing. You are doing great things.
Thank you so much for that. My first question is to you. Well, first of all, do you have any message you want to give to the audience today?
Yes, I would like you to ask a question first.
How do we balance our spiritual journey and practices with the demands of everyday life here?
It is an interesting question you ask, because a better way And I'm not saying that you're not asking questions in a nice way, but I'm referring to maybe slightly a better way to ask this question or to place the focus on is the understanding that it's not about balance, that it is an understanding of a way of being. How is it that we can be this spiritual person at all times? Because we are divine, we are almighty, and to put it into basic terms, we are more than just this physicality, that we have this soul that is living inside of ourselves, that this soul has desires, that this soul has intention. And in this intention, what you do is you place your attention on this knowing that you are one with Source. And in this knowing, imagine yourself right now, imagine yourself walking your day, all day, in this knowing that you are Source walking your body right now. Imagine yourself vibrating to this knowledge. This knowledge inside of you is one that you live by at all moments, at all times of the day. This is not balance. This is the way of being. To be an enlightened one, because you are meant to be an enlightened one, Alex, as you walk this planet. You are meant to always be enlightened on this planet and to live this beautiful essence of you always in this day. And in that, when one is enlightened, everyone, then you can walk in this knowing that you are powerful, that you can feel the energy flowing through you, that you don't seek balance because you want to be this at all times. And in this, what happens is, yes, a balance does occur, but it occurs with everything you do. You are able to live life to the fullest. You are able to be in tune at all times with everything you do, when you eat, when you work, when you speak to people, and so forth. So it is like saying, the question that you asked is like saying, how do I wear my clothes just sometimes during the day?
Very well put. Very well put. How do we strengthen our connection with the divine during these difficult times?
How can we strengthen our connection with the divine during these lovely times?
Better question.
A wonderful way for those of you who are here who would like to receive this initiation, since you asked, I may give. If you can envision a column of light coming through you, straight from the divine, this column of light is coming down through your crown, through the core of your being, down past your feet into Mother Earth. And at the same time, there's a divine light that is coming across your arms and meeting at the point in your heart. And this golden liquid energy is coming through horizontally and vertically and meeting at that point in your sacred heart. And this point opens a sacred portal. This sacred portal is your heart space. It is the portal to the divine. And when you place your attention on this sacred portal, and you can feel this energy activating now, when you place your attention there, feel at the heart space in whatever way you can feel. Some can feel energy, some can imagine love. Just imagine some good feeling and place your attention there. And while you do, place your attention in the focal point above your head, 30 centimeters to a foot above your head in the divine mind space. And feel yourself, your consciousness, being pulled to the divine mind in that area. And in that, you can breathe in the elixir of the Holy Spirit, the divine, the Almighty One, your Great Spirit. You can tap into the essence of all that you are in that space. Your Akashic records are accessible there. But no, it is through the portal of the heart, and this golden energy that is coming through now in those quadrants enable you to activate that part of you where you can tap into this divine wisdom. This divine wisdom, when you are centered in this space with your heart portal into the divine wisdom, you are always aligned with the consciousness that the divine is here with you at all times, that your spirit, your great spirit is always here with you. And so as you walk these days, you become a walking Jesus. You become a walking Kuan Yin. You become a walking Buddha. You become a walking Paramahansa Yogananda. You become a walking anyone. You become a walking you, and in that, you can experience peace in whatever is going on. And you stay aligned with the knowing that this love is everywhere. And in this love, what you see is goodness. You see greatness around the world, and you will have epiphanies on how you can do your part to assist, to bring harmony back into this world, and to continue harmony in this world at the same time.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. What role does synchronicities play guiding us through life?
Synchronicities are not what you think. What one must understand is that we are creators, that we have something called divine will. And when we align with divine will, what we must understand is that when we have a thought, a desire inside of ourselves, when you have a desire to impact 1 billion people, for instance, you have this desire. And you will feel this desire in some part of your body. Some might feel it in their heart, some feel it in their stomach. There's a part of your body where you have this desire. And this desire gets pulled forth into creation through your desire. Your desire is the command. Your desire is the will to create, the will to impact 1 billion people. And so in that desire, what you do is you command that it be so. And you stand in this knowing with grace and joy that you are impacting 1 billion people, that you are so excited that these 1 billion people are being impacted. You are so excited that all these people will come your way to show you all the different things that you're going to apply in your business to impact those billions people. Whoops, did I add the S to billion? So when you align with yourself with this knowing, and you can feel the heartbeat of the intelligence, the divine almighty, breathing this wisdom to you that it knows, then you stay aligned with this and you create those manifestations here on earth. You are a mighty creator and you are designed to be the creator. You are created in the likeness and image of the divine, which means that you have the ability to create through your intention, not through physicality. Physicality occurs because of your intention, but your creations occur first. Your creations cannot occur without you aligned with the divine knowing that you are going to impact 1 billion people, and that you are, and that the intelligence is working through you because you are the intelligence. And so you know that it can work through you, and this is how miracles are performing for you.
What is the deeper spiritual meaning behind the current global conflicts that are happening around the world?
Oh, Alex, must I say, you're really wanting to dive deep here into the gutters.
Well, I think that's where a lot of people are starting from. So we have to go down before we can come back up.
Bless you, sweet soul. Okay, my dear ones. So the great spiritual meaning, for instance, behind COVID was that we are all one. And the great spiritual meaning behind the conflicts is that we are all one. The meaning is the same thing. And when one has not learned enough, we go deeper. And when we go deeper, we create more calamities until we realize that we're all one. In the same way when we had the conversation earlier, you and Genevieve had the conversation earlier about people having breakdowns or people getting to the point where they finally can have change because they went as low as possible. And so the earth can go as low as possible until humanity realizes that they're tired. They're bored of this way of being, and it is now time to create peace. And so the essence is always, the teaching is always that we are one.
And do you have any final words for the audience?
Thank you for asking. Yes. First of all, be kind to yourselves. Try not to focus on what was wrong, or what you did wrong, or what you didn't do, or what you haven't accomplished. Because know this, you are beautiful beings, and everywhere you are at is perfect in its essence. You are fine, and yes, of course, it is good to strive. And the thing here that I want to focus on is not the striving part, but the desire part. That you have a spirit, and your spirit is here to bring forth its creations through you. And that you came here to experience your creations, You are almighty. And so focus on the goodness inside of yourself. Give yourself a tap on the back because you've done such a great job. Be kind to yourself. And in that, you can have joy and celebrate those things that you can bring into the world. Celebrate the ideas that you want to bring forth. And know that they can be accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, he's cheeky. I like him.
He is a bit cheeky, isn't he?
He is a little cheeky, isn't he? Are you okay? How do you feel?
I'm okay, actually. He gave me some energy that made me, with Isis, I was like, whoa, really deep.
Uh-huh.
But it seemed like, yeah.
He came in and gave you a little
yeah, he gave
jolt.
me an uplift. Oh, I think it was, because I'm kind of half here, right?
Yeah.
I think it was the energy that he brought forth that shifted things.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good. So are you game for a few more?
Sure.
All right, let's keep going. I mean, we could be here all day if it wasn't for my voice. But who's next? Who's next in the waiting room?
All right.
In the spiritual waiting room.
Well, it's Mary Magdalene.
The OG.
So what does OG stand for?
Original gangster.
Oh, okay. Of course I didn't know that. All right, so she came last time, actually. All right. Welcome, Alex. It is lovely, as always, to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Mary, for coming. My first question is that we are going through a collective shift in humanity's vibration and frequency. What can humanity collectively do to help elevate its consciousness?
Oh, this is such a refreshing question. Can you feel the breeze of refreshment coming into your room right now?
I do.
Oh, it's such an easy answer. The answer is to go to your heart, to experience joy in everyone, to know that we are all love. When we can experience love in each individual and know that we all come from that place, when you can have compassion for people and know that maybe people are going through some hardships some days, or when someone's driving down the street and they do something like cut you off, maybe have a realization that there's something going on for them. Ultimately, through chaos or through hardships, the best thing to do is to love.
What are practical steps that individuals can take to contribute to this global consciousness shift?
Practical steps. The most important step, as Jesus also teaches, is going into the heart. And now some people might be confused as to what that means. You have passions. And to some, they may not even know what that means. We talked about desire. When your desire is in active mode, it is in passion mode. You are actively fulfilling your desire. And when you actively fulfill your desire, you experience a greater desire. It's a passion. It's something where you feel so excited. You feel compelled to move forward. You are actually moving forward. You're compelled to keep going. It's kind of like a runner when they've run for a while and they've come across those struggles that they're experiencing, but then all of a sudden they go into that mode where they can't stop and they feel like they just want to keep going. That is the passion mode. And when we can awaken the passion inside of ourselves, access that part, what is it that keeps you going and keeps you moving? What is it that you feel compelled to move forward? Unfortunately, Alex, this world has been very asleep. This world has been closed off and in pain and struggling and in their minds, you see. And when I'm talking about this, the center point is all up here, right here in the brain. And this mind, they're separating themselves from this part here. And this part is the place where your passion resides. As you know, I'm the one who represents the passionate heart. And so here we are to understand that we are all moving in this direction. And the way to move forward is always not to go here, but to steer away from this part, which people think is logical. Get away from the illogical mind, please, and go into the heart. And in the heart, you also access the divine consciousness. And in that, when you can live your fortuitous desires together as a planet, imagine what the world would be if we all lived that life.
Beautiful, beautiful. What is the impact of the collective fear on humanity's consciousness, and how can we overcome it?
As Lord Lanto, was it Lord Lanto that said you're going deep?
Yes.
Yes, you are going deep. So how do you overcome the collective fear? One person at a time. But you realize that one person at a time, instantaneously, the fear is gone. If we all instantaneously, one person at a time, did our part by living in love, it's instantly replaced. What's amazing is that this earth can change in an instant. If we but knew this, we could realize the power that we could bring here for humanity. We could bring this great new planet, that other planets would be coming, people from other planets would be coming to want to experience what it is that we have done, so that they can bring those teachings home to their planet.
What is the most important spiritual lesson humanity needs to learn right now?
Has Lord Lanto talked about rephrasing?
Yes, I am a humble podcaster and don't have the abilities of the infinite knowledge to construct these questions, so please bear with me.
Can you ask your question again?
Yes, I will make my attempt. What is the most important spiritual lesson humanity needs to learn right now?
You see, this question is in conflict with itself. Because to have a spiritual lesson, one does not need a spiritual lesson. One must be their spirit. And so being their spirit means that they are rising and experiencing all that is. There is nothing more to learn from besides just continuing growing into. Because we are expansive beings, and this universe is all expansive. Your spirit is all expansive. And so, what is the teaching that humans can realize inside of them? What is this teaching? Ultimately, it always comes down to the same thing. 3 things. 1, shift your mind, because that will free you from the shackles that you have on yourself. Your mind, not yours, Alex, but the mind in general of people, is so toxic at times that if we can first of all be kind to ourselves, if we've noticed that it's been toxic. Secondly, ask yourself, how can you shift your thinking? Thirdly, be the Buddha and breathe and experience your breath and know that your breath is not without the divine, that you cannot be anything but the breath, that you are this essence that breathes you. And in this, you can go into that still space. And in that still space, you remember who you are. And thirdly, act on your breath. Act on your breath with love, because your breath has the essence of divine love, wisdom, and power. And when you act on this, you follow through with your passions. You live your days with joy. You experience yourself. And in this experience, you start to get blissed out in human terminology. And in your bliss, you expand. And in that, you pinch yourself because you wonder, how is it that you got so lucky to live here?
What role does love and compassion have or play in transforming our world?
When you can align with the divine essence of this energy is made up of love, which includes compassion, wisdom, and power. when you can align with this love and compassion, when you can be this love and compassion, then you can create miracles on this earth. You are this. When the whole world vibrates to this, when you shift away from the illusions that there is hatred. Hatred is a created concept, but that is not the truth of who you are. The truth of who you are is only love, is only compassion, is only greatness, is only wisdom. When you align with this knowing, then how can I say it? Your world is great. Your world is wonderful. It can only be that.
Now, do you have any final messages for the audience, Mother Mary?
Yes. Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene.
Excuse me.
I'm so sorry. I thought it was the other Mary.
Sorry, Mary. That's just a joke. Yes. Stand in your confidence, my friends. Do not delay. Do not delay what is so important for you here today. Know that if you wait, then you are waiting for more pain. When you can know that you can live joy now, that you can live your love now, that you can live your passions now, that you can live your spirit's desires now, then the world changes because you took care of you and you took care of your desire inside of you to live forth and live that fervently. When you can shift your focus and stand in your power, stand in your strength, stand in your confidence, and let go of fear once more. Completely let it go, because it does not serve you. Be the eagle on the eagle wings and soar high and enjoy the flight.
Thank you, Mary. Oh, you're bringing a whole bunch of cheeky people through. How are you feeling? You teared up there
Pretty
a little
good.
bit.
Yeah, pretty good.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have one more in you?
Yeah, little. Yes. I was going to say, yeah, you little greedy. Yes.
One last one.
Absolutely. I'm just kidding you.
One last one.
Absolutely.
You made this trip.
Yes, I'm happy. No,
Well,
I could sit here all day.
I know you can.
Okay, let's see who comes in. Buddha?
Oh, I haven't had Buddha before.
Okay.
Let's do this.
It is with grace I say hello to you, Alex.
Thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
My first question to you, Buddha, is how can individuals find and fulfill their spiritual purpose in this life?
Everything comes down to the breath. And people are practicing all kinds of breath work these days. But when I talk about the breath, I talk about the stillness in the breath. In this stillness, there's peace. And I'm purposely talking slowly, so you may experience this peace. To live your passions and your purpose is to get centered and get still. Because the mind has become extremely busy, especially with digital technology. So busy that one has even forgotten that they have this breath. And in fact, Alex, some have become afraid to experience their breath. Can you imagine this? We must return to understanding that when you breathe, before you finish your breath, do you notice there's a pause before you breathe in again? And then when you breathe in, there's a pause before you breathe out again. And what people don't realize is that that pause is the return to the Almighty. Imagine this pause right now. And in this pause, you meet with the Almighty. When you can place your attention on this, knowing you come home to the divine. And then when you breathe again, the divine merges with you and breathes you. And so this is the dance that you have with getting still. And this is how you can return to experiencing your passion, remembering what your passion is, and remembering the thirst that your spirit has for you as a soul. Because remember, you are not a body, you are a soul who is also the spirit, but the soul here on human form. And you came here for a reason, not a season.
Buddha, what is the most misunderstood thing about your teachings that you would like to clarify today?
They focus a lot on my smile. But the smile, they don't understand. Because the essence is what the focus should be on. The understanding that when you can feel the essence, when you can know the essence, that thing that fills you, this energy that fills you, when you can know this essence, you smile. And so the focus is not to sit in front of a statue of me and revere me. The focus is to remember the essence inside of you. Be one with this essence. Be still with your breath. Yes, Alex?
What was the biggest challenge you had to overcome on your journey to finding your true self, your self-realization, your enlightenment, as they call it?
I would say it's a good question, Alex, despite those things that Mary and Lord Lanto said to you.
Very cheeky.
We're all having fun here with you. Can you ask that question again?
What was the biggest challenge that you had on your path to enlightenment or self-realization?
This is a very good question, as I said before. Many would be able to relate to what I'm about to say. As I was a human, remember, and as a human, what I experienced was that no one could relate to me, and I felt very alone. There was a time during this process where I felt very alone. I felt saddened. I had this desire inside of me to fulfill, yet I would get confused because no one would support me. And so I was kind of left alone on this journey. Yet I was knowing inside of myself that there was this purpose, in kind of in the way like you or Genevieve or other people are doing, where they feel like they are meant to come out. In my way, of course, my coming out was different because there weren't so many people. But even during those times, remember, those times were very different and people thought differently. And so the hardest thing for me at the time before enlightenment was the feeling that people could not understand me. And yet I had to continue being me through this process. Do you understand?
Oh, I understand completely. How did you deal with being, both you and Jesus and many others, ascended masters and avatars who walked around your time, before your time, and even shortly after your time, human consciousness was such a lower frequency than it is today. I always wondered what it was like to walk and try to teach the lessons that you were teaching, the spiritual knowledge that you were giving to people who could just barely understand 1 + 1 = 2 in many ways on a spiritual standpoint. Of course you felt alone. You had no peers around, and you had no other examples around because nobody could communicate the way we can communicate today. How did you deal with that?
I can understand what you are saying. And yes, it goes back to the understanding of balance when Isis came through. That feeling of living in two worlds. So I lived in two worlds. One, connecting slowly to my spirit, and the other world of humanity and the few that would connect with me on the odd occasion. But what people don't realize is that I had visitations from the other side. And those visitations are what kept me focused. Those visitations are what breathed my breath. Those visitations are what sent me on blissful states. Those visitations were much more powerful than the human constructs that were occurring at the time. And so I danced between two worlds of feeling alone at times, but at the same time I danced to the other world where I felt so connected.
Is that why so many of us who are going through spiritual awakenings feel alone?
Absolutely. And the other reason about feeling alone is that there's a remembrance inside of themselves. There's a remembrance of who they were before they came. And that remembrance focuses on something better than this moment in time. And that can feel lonely because there can be a desire to return to this remembrance where one doesn't even know where this was. In some cases, people do remember, but not most of humanity. And yes, the other is what you have described, which is evident when one has a circle of friends and their friends cannot relate to what they are saying. I would say have patience with those friends or shift your focus towards gaining new friendships.
Buddha, why is it that we have to, or humanity has this need to idolize avatars and masters who walk this earth, and also create stories to reinforce these ideas of godlike abilities, where, to my understanding, all of you who've come through, who have walked this earth, did not come fully formed. You came with challenges and journeys and obstacles that you had to overcome to find your enlightenment and to connect to source again when you were down here. Why do we have this need to idolize you? And am I correct in that, in saying that?
Yes, you are. And this is a good question I would like to add. The reason why people do this is because if they can idolize, then they do not need to take action. If they can put someone above themselves, then they give away their own power. If they were to place their attention back on themselves and give themselves as much power as they give me, or they give another ascended master, or an angel, or so forth, then what would happen is they would realize that they now need to take action on this power that they experience themselves to be. They will know that they can change worlds. They will know that they can reverse what is going on this planet. They will know they can bring love to humanity. They will know that they can impact billions. They will get away from feeling the discomfort they fear from just helping 10 people. And I do not say just, it is a good thing, but I'm also referring to their capabilities. When they know that they are this powerful, then they will need to take action on this power. And so this is why people idolize other beings. They put them on a pedestal, and in that, then they wait for a kingdom to come, rather than them bringing the kingdom here, because they are the ones who are here ultimately to bring the kingdom.
Why do we fear the power that is inside of us?
Because when you experience this almighty power, your chest expands so much that you wonder how you can even contain this glory of the divine flowing through you. It is very powerful, this divine. When you are face to face with divine, tears come rolling down, or joy expands to the greatest atmospheres. You experience more than this body can handle, so to say. Of course, your body can handle it, but it's kind of like a saying. You experience worlds that you did not think could exist. And so when you feel this power inside of you, it is the great unknown because you had never experienced it before. And when this awakening happens, imagine, Alex. Imagine today you are Alex, and tomorrow you get this burst of light soaring through you, and you realize that you are this great light, this great divinity. Would that not feel scary?
Yes.
This is why. And one must then embrace this fear and let go of it and become this glory, this power that you are. Because ultimately, this is how humanity can live life, in this power and do great things, not just the few. People will not be saying, oh, you're gifted, I could never be that. People will be knowing that they can be all those great things that their heart has desired them to be.
Buddha, when you tapped into this power yourself, how did you deal with it for the first time?
For me, it wasn't so much about dealing with it. For me, it was an experience that I gladly took in. For me, I didn't really worry about what others thought at the time. Yes, I was still human and felt those feelings of feeling alone when I was developing myself. But once I dove in, I didn't want to come out.
That was my next question. How could you balance between the two of being human and also diving into the pool of eternity and being able to go and have visitations from the other side and things? How did you have the will to continue to come back down, if you will, down for lack of a better word, to earth and deal with the challenges we all have here in the physical form?
So you see, life was a little more simple then. Life was not as busy then. Yes, we had our own conflicts and challenges, but I could be alone. I didn't have to worry about paying the mortgage. You humans today have so many things to have to be responsible for and care for. Finances is a huge endeavor for humanity, as it was not as much for us in those times. Plus, people would give me food. And so I could be in that moment and experience that. And to be honest with you, Alex, I was more in the bliss than I was as human. And that is what my journey was meant to be at that time. So that people could understand by experiencing another human that they could experience bliss. And so that was my purpose at that time. It was less so to be more human and to do things through humanhood. It was more to be and to have others experience this being so that they can know God. They can know the divine. They can understand that this is possible for them.
Buddha, even your followers, people who followed you over the years, tell themselves a story of how things should be. And sometimes they aren't open to other ideas from other avatars, other teachers. I think that is a problem that we all have on this earth, that the stories that we tell, if they counter what we believe, if I believe something and you believe something else, you're in conflict with me. They can't conceive of the idea that it just might be a different road to the same destination. How would you approach that problem that we are all currently having in this time?
Would you not say, though, Alex, that the world is awakening?
Oh, absolutely. It's getting better, but there's still much work to be done.
Yes, but my point is that we are moving in that direction. And so this is a good thing, that people are not following the constructs of religions or spiritual paths in the same way anymore. We are all now moving towards enlightenment. And yes, when one focuses on rigidity and rules, what they will soon learn is that over time they won't work. They will have their lesson in life where they will start to question these rules. They may get disappointed because they may have followed these rules for years and been a devout adept with these rigid rules. And unfortunately for some, it may take years for them to realize this. But the good news is, back to the original point of this discussion earlier today, is that because humanity is awakening, because of the consciousness of the planet shifting, what people do not realize is that we are all conscious beings, that we are not just humans in a physical body. And because we are conscious beings, our vibration is shifting because of our physicality shifting, because of Earth shifting. And so what will happen is people will become awake. And when they become awake, what happens is they become aware of divine truths. They become aware of who they really are. Or maybe they become aware of who they could be or their potential. And so this is what is going to happen. And in this awake and aware state, what will happen is these rules will drop off. They will simplify things. And they will take rules 1 to 100 and simplify it down to maybe 3. And this is what the change will happen. People will realize we must shift the wording they will use, as we must shift to modern times. Let's shift these old found religions or thoughts to modern times. And then they drop off these old rigid rules and then simplify them. And so this is kind of the stages that will take place. And eventually everything will drop off.
And finally, Buddha, do you have any parting messages for the audience?
I have a parting message for you.
Wow, thank you.
Alex, you have impacted humanity. And even though you may not know it and you're a humble, you have been the walking Buddha. You have been the one who has heard the call. And for this, I thank you for. You are not aware that the ascended beings are watching you and assisting you, but not only that, they are celebrating with you. You can feel them clapping right now. They are celebrating you and thanking you. And they asked me to come forth to tell you personally how grateful we are that you are here to be steadfast in alignment with this knowing and to fulfill your humble duty as a servant of the divine. And for that I am humbly your servant and grateful to you.
Thank you so much for that. I truly appreciate it, and thank you for everything you've said today. Well, that was interesting.
That was very interesting.
That was...
I think the longest time I've ever channeled Buddha.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever had Buddha.
He was actually really interesting.
I've never had Buddha.
I've never heard of those things before.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
It made me feel sad in a way that he felt alone at times.
Oh, but that's why I asked him the question, because I always wondered that. I'm like, it would be the equivalent of, me walking around a daycare trying to explain quantum physics.
Yeah.
It would be so frustrating and so alone.
Yeah.
That you have this knowledge, but your audience is not ready to accept that idea.
Yeah.
And all of these avatars, they don't come down to an audience that's willing and waiting.
No.
They come down at a time when they're the seeds that are planted for later generations to understand. You know, we're still talking about Buddha thousands of years later. We still talk about Jesus, Saint Germain, everyone who's come through today. These people are these souls we're still talking about, but in their time, they must have felt so alone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't even comprehend Jesus or Buddha walking around trying to explain trigonometry when they don't understand one plus one is two.
Yeah.
But
you know what's interesting though too is that he said, but his purpose was to experience bliss so others could see it. And what I saw was a visual of him, like literally in bliss,
Sure.
and people would come by and
feel it. They would see it.
it's amazing.
Well, from my understanding of all of these avatars, all of these ascended masters, they are just here to not only teach us, but to show us that what is capable of being done. You know, I use Yogananda a lot because I'm really connected to Yogananda, but Yogananda was an example of what could be. All these masters on my wall, everyone we've spoken about, they all are examples of what you can do. And I love the concept of rigidity that he was talking about.
Yeah.
That, you know, that will start to fade away. And it is actually happening, where before you needed to do this, and you have to get baptized, and you have to go through this ceremony, and you have to go through this in order to, you know, go to get to God. Where now people are like, no, I don't, you know, don't think that way. I'm very open and fluid with my spiritual path. I learn things every day, brand new things. Where I'm drawn to a certain guru or certain teachings, I'm introduced to new ones. And I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. Well, let me grab a little bit of this. Very much like Bruce Lee. He grabbed from all of the martial arts to create the one martial art.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first to do that. While the other martial arts were very rigid. I'm Kung Fu, I am Karate, I am Judo, I am Aikido, I'm whatever those are. He's like, no, I'm going to grab a little bit from here, a little bit from here, a little bit from here. What makes sense for me? And I'll create a new system that works for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're all going spiritually. I think we're all grabbing what connects with us for ancestral reasons, for karmic reasons, for what we feel comfortable with. You know, you and I chose these bodies, this incarnation, you know, one, to probably experience it, but two, we probably feel comfortable. You know, I feel comfortable in the Latino culture.
Yeah.
I was raised in the Latino culture. You were raised in your culture.
Mm-hmm.
We probably feel comfortable there. We've probably been these cultures at one point or another.
Yeah.
You know, if we're coming in as a Catholic, maybe that's the path that you feel comfortable with, and might be the only path that this life brings you to connect to Source again, or Judaism, or Muslim, or just straight spirituality, the earth, whatever. It's finding that thing that works for you. And I am a complete proponent of there are multiple paths to the same destination. It can't be as rigid as like, I'm the only way, I'm the only way. None of these teachers say that.
No.
None of them. Their disciples say that.
Yeah.
But they don't.
That's right. That's
they
right.
don't.
Yeah. And interesting too about simplifying. When things get simplified,
Yes.
let's just take all these things, let's just take from 100 rules, let's bring them down to the 3 simple ones.
Right. Because we love to complicate things.
Yeah.
Oh, we love to create systems and complications and this or that and bop, bop, bop. But if you actually look at the teachings, they're so simple.
Mm-hmm.
Do unto others as you would like them to do unto you.
Yeah.
You know, it's simple, not complicated. Genevieve, I can keep talking to you for another 4 or 5 hours. I would love to bring all of them back.
Yeah.
And we could keep talking for hours. But I appreciate you coming so much for coming down here to Next Level Soul Studios and spending time with me today. Where can people find out more about you and the amazing work you're doing in the world?
Thank you. Yeah, people can find about me on liveatransformativelife.com, GenevieveTaeger.com, and yeah, that's basically my goal, is to help people to awaken their spirit and live their passions, as Mary Magdalene says.
And not only do I appreciate you, but the cheeky Ascended Masters that you brought in today. They were very fun. They like to poke. I always love Ascended Masters who don't take themselves too seriously, and they start poking little jokes, and they riffed off of each other, which I found hilarious. That was the best part about it. They riffed off each other, which was just like, Lord, I'm like, what is happening?
And when they would make a joke,
yeah,
then the cognizant part of me would forget what your question was.
Right. You're like, can you please repeat the question? I was too busy laughing. So I've lost the train of thought that this brings.
Yeah.
But Genevieve, thank you again so much for coming. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.